Welcome in everyone to the Larsonland podcast. I'm your host, Sawyer Hill, and I'm joined as always by my co-host, Dylan Bradshaw. We come in here every single week and talk about all things involving the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Young Money Kyle Larson. If you just listen to my intro that I do every week, you may think it's a lie. We said we come on here every single week and talk about all things involving Kyle Larson, but you might be asking, where have we been the past couple of weeks? We had some technical difficulties a couple weeks ago on our podcast before the off weekend for NASCAR, and we just decided to take the week off again during the off week. So it's been a couple weeks, but we're back. Dylan, nice to see you. Been a while, but first and foremost, how have you been over the past couple weeks? I know you've been watching the college baseball World Series. What's going on with that, and how has life been?
Yeah, I hate to see it. I was rooting on Florida. Been watching Florida, been pulling for them. Crazy World Series, just insane baseball to watch. But LSU pulled it out. Hate to see it, but yeah, man, a lot of racing this week for Kyle with Huset, and then we're gonna recap Nashville. But yeah, like you said, technical difficulties on the Sonoma pod. Unfortunate. I think it was a pretty good podcast, but we've kind of ran into that before. Just remaking another podcast is just not as genuine. We're kind of like try to
Yeah.
touch on things that we already talked about. So just decided to scrap that and just hold off for another week. But we're back. A lot of people have been asking about it. Everyone thought we quit, but we're still here, still going strong. Second year in, so hopefully we'll keep it going.
Yeah, ready to go for this second half of the season, and yeah, just unfortunate the last podcast and couldn't get that one out. We uploaded it, and maybe a couple people saw it, actually started listening to it, and realized my mic was muted the entire time. So just a little mishap there, but we're ready to get going for the second half of the season, and Kyle Larson kicked off the second half of the season in pretty strong fashion with his win at Huset's on night one of the Huset Tie Bank Nationals. Of course, Saturday night's feature paying $250,000 to win, the highest paying race in World of Outlaws sprint car history. Night one was good. I mean, Kyle came out of the gates and looked super fast, and I really thought that he was going to be a good contender for the 250,000 on the Saturday night. But with him only being able to run two out of the three prelim nights and them only taking their best two of three, Kyle didn't have any room to make any mistakes. And on Thursday night, it wasn't so fortunate as he was on Wednesday, Dylan.
Yeah, night one just instantly, he kept that momentum going. He's been hot all year, all those high limit wins in a year, he just kept it going. First race started fifth, obviously won that race. Tons of cautions in that race. I
Yeah.
mean, it was just nonstop. There was really no chance for any of the lead cars to get into lap traffic. It was just restart every 3 laps, restart, restart. So definitely the game of that. Luckily, Larson, he had some good restarts. But Larson, I think he took the lead from Rico at lap 30, so it was late in the race. Pretty much smooth sailing at the rest of that. But gravel, he came in like last second, last lap,
Yeah.
sent it on the last
It
turn.
was close.
Almost inched him out. It was pretty close, but that was a good race. But just tons of cautions. Wasn't really expecting that. But night two, not as good as a result. He started 19th, finished 22nd. Not the best qualifying effort. Started fifth, and I think heat two ended up finishing sixth in that. So just a bad night. Had to bounce back from that. It was tough because he wasn't racing that third night, but he made a little bit of ground in that race, but just didn't have it. He spun on the backstretch. Didn't go back out. Car was needed some repairs, but overall, I mean, track was pretty good. Track was pretty good. Not too much to complain about there, but yeah, tough night in night two at Houston for him.
Yeah, and kind of going back to night one just for a second, Rico losing another race late in the race. I mean, we've talked about how strong Rico has been all year. He's won a lot of races and been one of the dominant cars in 410 sprint car racing. And then, this is like the third time I think he's folded to Kyle late in the race. Is Rico still your favorite for the million going in here in a couple weeks, or is it somebody else? I mean, I think Kyle was definitely strong. You talked about the track conditions on Wednesday and Thursday night being pretty good. Saturday night, unfortunately, the rain came in and kind of messed things up, in my opinion. But do you think that Rico's still your favorite going into the million?
I mean, he pretty much has to be. I mean, all these races, he's starting up front. He's starting, first, second, third. I've noticed in a lot of the races he starts up front, he kind of veers back a little bit, but then he makes a hard charge to get back up there. It's as of late, I think Chase Robin made the little joke to Larson's interview that they got a little rivalry going. But it pretty much all these sprint car races as of late, it's just been Larson and Rico kind of battling. Rico, I mean, he's just kind of having a little bit of unfortunate luck, but I mean, week in and week out, he's still probably the fastest car in sprint car racing. So I think it's between him and Kyle. They've definitely been the hot hands, two California boys going into the million. So yeah, I mean, I think Rico can get it under control and get it going. He's proven he has the speed, so just has to put it all together.
Yeah, I definitely think Rico is still very strong, and so is Larson. But I think one of the interesting things I think about these big races like Huset's and like the Eldora Million coming up is always the formats. I mean, the formats are always really kind of out there and crazy, and it's not just like a normal race night. You kind of have to be on your toes all the time, and I think that 22nd place finish for Kyle on night two, obviously not being able to run night three, really was all it took to take Kyle out of contention for the 250,000 just because of the track conditions on Saturday night. If you don't capitalize every time you're out there on the track, it's really going to hurt you. And in that King of the Hill on Saturday night, where it was head to head kind of time trials, he went up against Rico and I think ended up. That was for the fifth or sixth place starting spot. Rico beat out Kyle, so Kyle ended up starting sixth in the feature. And with the way the track was after it rained, it was super fast paced. The lap times in the C main right after the they went back out on the track after the rain was probably the fastest lap times they saw all weekend or all week long at Huset's. And with the track being that fast, it was just really hard to pass. And Kyle ultimately came up to finish third on Saturday night. I think if there were a few more cautions, maybe you would have seen the 57 competing for the win. He almost got Rico there at the end for second, but at the end of the night, it was David Gravel. Ironically, the Houston Speedway car, normally Billion Auto this weekend, but the Houston Speedway car picking up the win in the $250,000 feature event.
Yeah, I mean, the rain definitely ruined the night, I would say. It just completely ruined the surface. It kind of made it pretty boring. You know, there was no green flag lead changes. You know, you don't have didn't have as many battles as you did the nights prior. Kofoid definitely had the
Ah,
one in the bag. That you just hate to see it.
heartbreaker.
Car went up in smoke. It was done for him. He definitely had that in the bag because it was just pretty much follow the leader. But I think my one takeaway from this is I don't really like the whole points thing too much. I mean, you're sitting there, you're crunching numbers to determine who's in front of who.
Yeah.
I just feel like it should be kept simple. Run it like a normal outlaw show. But I mean, it was a good show. I mean, it was a good event, highest paying ever until the million. So, I mean, it's really good for sprint car racing. Can't complain. But I do think the racing could have been better. And if the point system was kind of tossed out, just keep it traditional, keep it simple. You know, kind of make it for easier for everyone to understand. I know
Yeah.
when I started getting into dirt racing, it was kind of difficult for me to just learn, hey, there's a B main, there's a C main, this guy goes here, this guy goes here. So for any new watchers, they're sitting there looking at these numbers and it's just like Chinese to them. So kind of keep it simple. I think that would be good moving forward. But yeah, I mean, good event. Got a lot of races under the belt for Kyle. So always good to see that.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with your point on the whole format and the points thing. It's like, if you're not us or Walkipedia working in the spreadsheets every night, calculating the points after qualifying, after the heats, after the feature, the B mains, the C mains, everything, combining those total points. If you're not good with Excel and spreadsheets, you can't just figure out the points off the top of your head. It's not that easy, and I think that there's something to be said about that, and it definitely needs to be a little bit easier for the fans to understand the formats. I think it shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to wait to see us or Wikipedia tweet out the points before you know who are the top guys every night. It should be the guys that finish up front and the guys that are good. I mean, that's just my opinion, but everybody kind of feels different about that. But like you said, good couple nights of racing at Houston. It's obviously we wanted Kyle to win the 250,000, but we've got some more big ones coming up. We've got the million at Eldora, the Kings Royal. I think that's paying 100 $85,000 to win, or maybe in the Knoxville Nationals as well, which I think is paying around that too. So some big races still coming up here in the 410 sprint car season for Kyle, but kind of switching gears into NASCAR and the NASCAR side of things. Let's talk a little bit about Nashville this weekend, the first race for NBC. Their coverage of NASCAR, and Kyle was able to take home a strong fifth place finish. Not the day that we necessarily would have wished for, but I don't think we can really complain that much. I don't even know if he was. I don't even know if he had a car that was a top five car, and he ended up pulling off a top five finish.
Yeah, it was a decent race. I mean, I think it definitely got better throughout the night. I think when the sun was out, it was a little bit boring, but once the stage two area rolled around, it got a little bit better. Lots of battles. You know, you had some three wide passes, more lead changes than last year. So, I mean, it is a little bit of improvement. I did notice the passing was very bad in dirty air. I know Truex had a lot to say about that. He was struggling to make passes in dirty air, but yeah, like you said, Larson, he kind of had an average car all day. He was kind of floating around that 10th, 15th place range, which we're not really used to seeing this year. It's pretty much been checkers or wreckers for him for the most part. Always been in contention for the win in most races. This is one of the races where he was not. But like you said, he was able to salvage a fifth place finish. It's good considering how the day started. So, but I mean, overall, a good race. Not too many cautions. I think there was four total, including the stage breaks. We did have that one kind of controversial with Ryan Blaney and hitting that
Yeah,
barrier. Pretty insane that not. I mean, it's 2023 and these walls they don't have safer barriers. I mean, it could have been a really bad situation. Really hard impact. He was shaking up pretty bad. So it's really important, and especially at these intermediates and super speedways. I mean, they're going high speed and there's no safer barriers. It's definitely a safety concern. They need to get that squared away. But thankfully, Blaney was able to walk away okay from that. But all in all, decent weekend, top five finish, can't complain, and onto the mess of the Chicago Street Race.
yeah, and I was kind of just looking for a tweet about the Ryan Blaney incident with the wall there, and I saw Bob Pockers tweeted earlier today that NASCAR's Eldon Sawyer told SiriusXM NASCAR Radio that the portion of the wall that Blaney hit was less than 100 feet long, and that the safer barrier isn't designed for a wall that short in length. Kind of kind of interesting there. I saw people replying to that tweet showing little tiny sections of wall at other tracks that were definitely shorter than 100 feet long that had safer barriers on it. So I don't really know why NASCAR is kind of taking the defense on this. I mean, it's definitely unacceptable that we don't have a safer barrier or something. I mean, if they can't do a normal safer barrier there, why are we racing there in the first place with that design of the wall? I mean, they need to put something there that's going to be a safer option than just a concrete wall. I mean, it's like you said, it's 2023, and we've seen too many bad incidents. Um, we don't, you really don't expect to see something like that in this day and age.
It was kind of a little bit ironic. It was a little bit of bad publicity on Ford's part. They had a Ford wrapped banners on the wall, and then Ryan Blaney driving a Ford going right into it. Just not a good look. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a scary situation. Top of my head, I think it was Kyle Busch at Daytona with the safer barrier situation. He ended up walking away bad from that. So there's plenty of cases where it can end badly for the driver making that impact. Especially in this next gen car, it's just a brick.
Yeah,
You definitely these drivers have voiced many times that they feel any and every hit that comes their way. They're absorbing all of that power. So can definitely leave them shaken up, and anything bad could happen. A lot of concussion problems last year in the next gen ended Kurt Busch's career pretty much making impact. So
Gregson with a
um,
concussion this year.
yeah, Jackson. So
Yep.
just many cases, and they just need to get everything squared away on the safety side of things, and I think it'll be okay.
Absolutely. And for Kyle Larson's sake, I mean, a fifth place finish obviously is, as Kyle Larson fans, we're hoping for a win every single week. But the past three races haven't really seemed like, for the first time all year, he's kind of had a car that hasn't necessarily been capable of winning the race at Worldwide Tech. He got lucky on strategy there at the end and was able to fight with Kyle Busch for the win there. Ended up finishing fourth, eighth place at Sonoma, and then fifth place here at Nashville this week. Kind of, but on like the bright side of things, you got to look at it and say, okay, we're knocking off some good strong finishes here the past couple weeks in a season where it's been a lot of ups and downs. It's been checkers or wreckers all year long on the NASCAR side of things. So for the point situation, it's been good the past couple weeks for Kyle just to be able to knock off some solid finishes and not some 33rd place finishes here and there.
Yeah, I was listening to an interview with Kyle after the race actually, and he was asked by the reporter about that, and he said he'd rather be in contention for the win and wreck out and not finish than rack up these top five, top tens. He said he feels like he gets more points in a day where he can get up there in the stage points
Yeah,
and get those good stage points instead of being back in 10th, 15th place. He said he'd just rather try to get the win and wreck than get these. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're good finishes. And by the way, coverage by NBC, much better than Fox. It was kind of refreshing. I was looking at my TV in disbelief because usually Fox, as soon as the race is over, cut it off. Next channel. They don't show victory lane, nothing.
it was like an
Showed
hour
victory lane.
long.
Yeah, they interviewed like every driver in order. So definitely change of pace there. I think it was a good coverage all in all. So not too much to complain about there. Definitely better than Fox. So hopefully they'll keep up the good coverage going for the rest of the year. And I think Chicago it's what on NBC and Peacock.
It's on NBC and Peacock, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So I mean,
yeah, I
no, go
mean,
ahead.
I think with it being on NBC, well, I guess for this weekend, kind of the big thing was like you talked about earlier, not a lot of cautions in this race. So the race went by really fast. So they did have a lot of extra time after the race to get in some additional interviews and have a longer post race, which was awesome. But I think we're also going to see with NBC too in the races where it is filled with cautions and they don't have a ton of time. They have Peacock, they have the streaming service that they're gonna have their post race on. If they don't have time to wrap it up on NBC or USA, they're going to switch over to Peacock and have coverage over there, which is going to be a huge difference from Fox, where some races they interview the winner and then they cut it right off, and that's it. No victory lane, no nothing. Definitely, NBC's coverage makes me want to press unmute when I'm watching the race. A lot of times I just sit there with it muted and I don't even listen to the announcers, especially with the Fox broadcast. But I was kind of listening to it a little bit. I missed the first stage of the race, but I kind of got home after that and watch the rest. And I just, for the first time, I think all season, I listened to the broadcast actually.
Yeah, and then you have the moments like, I mean, Fox has Fox, FS1 and FS2. You have the moments like Coda where they film an entire practice, don't air it on anything, and then put it on. I think it was on FS2, right? Like 6 hours later, after
Yeah.
everyone already knew what happened. So just bad coverage. I mean, you have three channels to choose from. If you're not going to put on that, at least put it on the Fox Sports app so people can go online and watch it on that. But I mean, like you said, I mean, it might be a different situation if the race is extended. I mean, Fox, they've had a lot of instances with that. We've had a lot of really long races drawn out from caution. So we'll see the coverage, what it stands for there. But we might be able to see that Chicago where there will be a ton of wrecks, people running into one another. Coverage might be cut short on that one. My initial prediction is just going to be a crash fest, which has pretty much become the norm for road courses in modern NASCAR. COTA was a mess. Guys just running into each other left and right. So I can only imagine Chicago. I mean, most of the turns are just straight up right angles. So I
Hmm.
think some guys are gonna, drive it too short, just end up driving in the back of another. Um, I did watch the iRacing series, the Coca-Cola series when it was announced. That was a mess, obviously simulation, but that's all you can really go off of. But I mean, it's NASCAR's attempt at treating NASCAR like an F1 race, luxury, expensive ticket prices that the average fan can't afford. So, I mean, we'll see how it turns out for them.
Yeah, I mean I feel like we've discussed this multiple times in the podcast, the Chicago race, and I think we've both made it pretty clear we're not big fans of it, but um, hopefully I'm going to be optimistic this weekend, and hopefully it can change our minds and maybe it'll actually be exciting. But typically the races like that, like what you're talking about with the if it's a crash fest and guys just run into each other, I'm not too big of a fan on those ones. So we'll see what happens at Chicago this weekend. Um, I don't. I know it's probably a race that Kyle's probably not looking forward to too much. I know probably a lot of the drivers aren't looking forward to it a lot, but it'll be interesting nonetheless, and we'll cover it like always, and just like any other race, we'll have everything here on Larsonland. So, um, Everybody's been asking us pretty diligently about PA Speed Week. I know Grandview got rained out tonight. They've had a couple rainouts, and Kyle said it in early January that he wasn't really planning on running PA Speed Week this year, and he's kind of followed through with that. Nothing to really report on there, other than we don't expect him to be at any of the races the rest of the week. And but on the other side of things, he did get announced that Wednesday night Kyle's going to be running at the Caraway Speedway with the Cars Tour. Kind of exciting there, Dylan, in a late model stock car. I think I saw it's this is only going to be the third time that Kyle's ran a late model stock car in his career. So excited for that one, and we'll see how that goes on tomorrow night actually.
Yeah, it's his first pavement late model start since I think it's been around 10 years or so since he's done that. So, I mean, it'll be exciting. You got Josh Berry, crew chiefing for him. It's kind of a joint effort with Junior Motorsports, so he'll be doing that. Barry, I mean, he's had a good background on the late model side. 2017 Car Store champion. I think he's got like around 22 wins or so. So he should definitely be helpful in Larson's ear, help him guide that track and finding good results. So, I mean, hopefully he'll put up a good finish. There's some other guys. Jeremy Mayfield's racing it, which is pretty cool. Hopefully he'll do well. He's kind of the outlaw in the NASCAR side of things. NASCAR doesn't really like him, so pulling for him to get a good finish. But I think ultimately Larson he'll find his way and pull out the win. Teach everyone how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, and also he's going to be in a really good car too. Carson Quapple, the other junior motorsports car, is actually the points leader for the Cars Tour right now. So we know he's going to be in the best equipment. So if Kyle can drive that thing, in which we're pretty sure he can, he should be pretty close to the front tomorrow night at Caraway. There are like 3 practice sessions for that race throughout the afternoon tomorrow, and then I think qualifying is around 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Race starting at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Flow Racing. If you want to catch that one, if you don't have Flow, we'll be covering it lap by lap updates on our Twitter as usual, and we'll be posting results on all of our social media. Kind of cool. This effort came together with Dale Jr. Kyle talked about it on the High Limit Room podcast that Dale Jr. Approached him at North Wilkesboro and asked him to run this race, and I think possibly in the future, Dale Jr. might be maybe attending a high limit race later in the year. That was kind of bounced around in this deal apparently. So super exciting stuff there. And again, you can catch that race Wednesday night on Flow Racing, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
Attending a high limit race, or we might see Dale Jr. in a seat for a sprint car.
I don't think we're gonna see Dale Jr. in this seat for a 410 sprint car race, but it'll be cool to have him there at a race. I know I think there's what 6 high limit races left, and I'm gonna be at 3 of the 6. I think at Grandview, Lernerville, and then Bridgeport. So maybe one of those 3, Dale Jr. will be there. I don't know. I don't know if I hope he's there or not because I think the crowds will be even more insane if Dale Jr.'s there. Maybe they'll hide him away in like the press box or or something and not show him to all the fans. But no, I know he'll probably be out there signing autographs and doing stuff. But pretty cool to see crossover between the Cars Tour and the High Limit Series for Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, it's just bringing publicity to both sides, just kind of getting those fans and mix them in between each other. But yeah, the crowds are already insane as it is a high limit. I don't remember what podcast. It might have been the Sonoma when we talked about it. The
Yeah,
crowd
Eagle.
at then yeah, Eagle. I mean, that crowd was just insane. Larson had to be standing there for hours and hours just signing autographs. It was just a massive crowd. So just insane. Great support all around at the High Limit Series. Car Store gaining some good support here as of late. So hopefully they both do well. Hoping for a good finish at this car store. Like I said, first pavement race in the late model in 10 years. So hopefully he'll break that streak and keep it going. Maybe race some more in the future. Well, only time will tell. So appreciate everyone for the support. Like we said in the beginning, it's been a while for the podcast. So hopefully you guys all see this in your subscription box and everything's back to normal. It's been kind of slow, but excited for the second half of the season. Some good tracks coming up, not including Chicago, by the way. But hopefully be good for the rest of the season. Yeah, thanks everyone for all the support.
Yeah, totally. Thank everybody so much for all the support. We apologize for not being here the past couple weeks, but we've been on social media, keeping everybody updated there. But we'll be back for the rest of the season every week. Expect us here on YouTube. That should pretty much wrap up today's show. We should be back again next week to recap the NASCAR Cup Series race at Chicago and the Cars Tour race at Caraway. If you're watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please follow our podcast so you don't miss a thing. Have a great rest of the week, everyone, and we will see you in the next episode.